So now we are going into the final. We're going to close the morning with a double-handed sort of fireside session featuring the customer engagement specialists, Leanplum, and the super hot for fireside blockchain-based Sandbox game folks, as run by my dear friend Sebastien, who's all over the bloody news at the moment. I can't open a press release without your name in it. So congratulations on everything with the Sandbox at the moment. It's going. Oh, Jackie's back. Are you in this, Jackie? No, I don't think so. That was nice. Anyway, thanks guys. Thanks for being patient. We're running about 10 minutes behind, but you have your full time for your session now. So is it Momchil? Is that right?
That's right. This is Momchil, yeah.
Momchil, cool. All right, it's a cool name. We're gonna have to check the etymology of that because I've never heard that one before. But are you guys fine to launch in? Are you going to take it?
Yeah, I think that's good. I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I just wanted to start by thanking Seb for joining us today. So the topic for today is really on how to maximize player engagement through personalized live ops offers. So I feel like it's a topical one, especially in the context of previous conversations we just heard about kind of the battle between monetization and engagement for players, and how do you strike the right balance. And we have some interesting data to share. We have some anecdotes that we can share as well. And this is Momchil. I'm co-founder and chief product officer at Leanplum. And I also have Seb. I've known Seb for, 7 years now. We met, I believe, in Paris the first time over 7 years ago. And it's been a great journey being a partner together. So Seb, I'd love to have you introduce yourself as well.
Absolutely. Well, today I'm putting my Pixel hats, which is my previous mobile game company I co-founded in 2011. And it's true that we spent a decade into creating mobile games that are focused on two things. One is turn players into makers, building their own stories through city builder games with IPs. And on the other side, turning players into creators as well, letting them create their own games with Sandbox and other franchise. And as part of this journey, where Pixel, this game studio we founded in 2011, was acquired in 2018 by Animoca Brands, we have been really putting a lot of effort and more focus into live ops, into a data-driven approach that leverage Leanplum platforms. We were, I believe, one of the very first gaming clients to use Leanplum solution to engage our players through various in-app marketing actions. And I think that the topic of today would be to review some of the best practices we had and everything that Leanplum platform has enabled us to do so. And a quick word based on the city builder we launched. As you can see here, we launched game with Garfield, with Snoopy, with Goosebump, Loud House, Wonder Park, Adam's Family, and we're about to launch a new city builder that makes more than 7 titles focused into this specific category, always leveraging that expertise that we grow year after year.
Thank you, Seb. And a little bit of intro on Leanplum. So I started the company back in 2012. I had spent many years as an engineer working at Google, and I built some of the core A/B testing infrastructure there, as well as working on a growth team specifically for YouTube. And I took a lot of those learnings and applied them at Leanplum. And Seb is right. All of our early customers were gaming customers. Our first product to market was an A/B testing platform. And so to this date, A/B testing is kind of the root of everything we do. We're a very data-driven company, but we've really expanded to what we call full player management now. And full player management, in my mind, is really the opportunity and the ability for a game studio to connect all the various touch points together that personalize the player journey. And to me, those are first the CRM and the lifecycle marketing that has a significant impact on retention that we've seen over and over again. The live ops and monetization capabilities, the ability to show offers, especially the personalization aspect of that, as well as the in-game experience. Ultimately, the game design, the actual, if you have ads, the ad loads, even the story itself, all those aspects of the game experience are vital and really important to be personalized. And really, Leanplum is that one-stop shop to connect all these three together into a cohesive solution for that. And as you see, obviously we're very proud to work with Pixel for 7 years plus now, but we also work with a lot of other companies, small and large, including electronic arts and Big Fish, as well as Morka, mobility wear. So really the spectrum, both on the casual as well as on mid-core, hardcore gaming as well. And one question that I get asked is, why does it matter to personalize the player journey and connect all three of these aspects together? And in my mind, it's always about providing a great free-to-play experience. Because when you think about, let's say you're starting to play a game and you come in on day one, you play a couple of sessions, you're already showing the game developer the kinds of things you like, the kind of content you're really excited about. And when you get that D1 push notification, it better reference the kinds of things you already showed the developer you enjoy the most, like the kind of characters you chased or the kind of upgrades that would be interesting. Then you come back on day two, the live ops offer comes in, and it shouldn't be just a generic sale that everybody sees, or it's the same sale for everybody. It should really be a personalized sale for the characters that you are pursuing already or interested in. Maybe it's a personalized tournament or event for you over the next few days. And then as you progress in the game, day 3, day 4, day 5, then you really start to personalize the gameplay itself. Maybe you're starting to tweak the level of difficulty, the ad load, all those aspects, depending on who the player is and how you react to them. And that really makes a difference to be able to connect those aspects together into a personalized player journey. And it also allows you to really create a win-win scenario where the player is having a great free-to-play experience. And at the same time, the game developer, the studio, is able to monetize and engage in a very efficient way. So I think that it shouldn't really be one at the expense of the other. It can be both, as long as you really strike that balance of relevance and personalization. And really for today, for the conversation, we're looking to dive in a lot deeper into that. Great. So a little bit on those three areas that we touched on. Obviously, lifecycle marketing, live ops, and remote configuration. So when it comes to lifecycle marketing, and I'm actually going to ask Seb to chime in a little bit on this in a moment for each one of these. But specifically lifecycle marketing, typically owned by marketing teams, although product teams also, the game teams typically would come in as well sometimes. But this is kind of your standard calendar of events, sales, events that are non-sales related, anything that's engagement, being able to optimize the player life cycle. I would say probably 85% of this is focused on re-engagement. And the main channels here are in-app messaging, push, email. One thing that may strike you as odd is that in-app messaging is a really important channel for re-engagement. That is actually our own finding. What we've noticed working with several gaming studios is that players don't just stop playing all of a sudden, they kind of slow down. And it's really important to be able to detect that early phase of churn in order to re-engage them through the right offers, through the right gifts with in-app messages. So it's obviously push and email are really important to be able to bring people back, but that's usually sometimes too late. So being able to capture that early sign of churn is actually really important, being able to detect it to begin with and being able to respond. So this is lifecycle marketing. Well, we all know that CRM. Live ops capabilities are typically split in two. One is being able to run a live ops calendar of events and sales. And the second part to it is being able to automate the player journey through what we sometimes call lifecycle ops. These are things like defeat offers, streak offers, spending activity offers, any kind of offer gift that is being attached to the player lifecycle. And what we find is that those are really great ways to boost the effectiveness of those promotions for the events and sales. Again, channels, primary channels, in-app messaging, but push, email, also really important channels, especially for VIP players when it comes to push and email specifically. And then the remote configuration is really interesting. And this was actually one of the original products we built, as I mentioned, with the A/B testing solution. And the idea here is that you have the ability to control any aspect of the game. And we recognize at Leanplum that a lot of gaming studios have built in-house backends, and they already have a game config available. What we really strive to do is to enable our system to sit on top and really act as a gatekeeper that points to the right configuration for different players, right? So the personalization aspect, the A/B testing, the segmentation aspect, that really makes a big difference. And it could be used for as little as just controlling promotions in your store to a lot more advanced use cases, like being able to optimize the gameplay, level difficulty, being able to tweak other aspects of the game, like ad monetization, rewards, cooldown periods for ads. And a fun little one that we've seen customers do is actually control other third-party SDKs remotely with Leanplum, being able to turn on and off maybe a GameTune SDK or any other SDK when need be. Seb, would you mind just sharing a little bit about your experience and kind of how you guys kind of see those three areas?
Yes, absolutely, Momchil. Well, as you alluded to, there's several easy implementation of those three pillars that can be leveraged. You just mentioned some. What we did at Pixel, I think we experimented with quite a lot of things that are possible here, whether they are A/B testing campaigns, whether they are remote configuration and special packs. The one I think triggered like the highest return or conversion behind, and more importantly, we are really regarding the life cycle marketing and the re-engagement, first of all. So it's a common practice when you run city builder games to run live ops events. So basically, we have some games such as Snoopy Towntail that's been live for 6 years, for which we make, I believe, 60 events so far. So almost one a month, very regular basis. And something we've noticed is like, it's not because you run an event, you create an update, you change the icon, the packaging, the description, the first featured screenshot, that it's enough for players to find out that there's an event going on. It takes even more effort. And that effort goes through by leveraging those communication channels, such as in-app messages and push notification to let them know that today is the day that the event is starting. So come if you want to engage with it and get a chance to win the rewards that you get after the end of the duration of that event. That's usually 15 days to 3 weeks at max. So definitely push notification to notify users that your event is starting. In-app messages for those who unfortunately might not have turned on their push notification is still useful if they come back and launch the game. We've seen as well the use of in-app messaging as a great way to engage the audience, both within the game, but also beyond. So typically, we are trying to leverage social media and community management as a way to engage our players to continue the journey outside of the game. So even when they are not playing the game, the fact that we use IPs like Peanuts or Adam's Family again, we know they are fans of those brands. We know that they want to see more content of those brands. So we keep posting regularly on social media, anecdotes, content, teasers, screenshots, etc. And sometimes we organize contests on social media, and we want to make sure that our players are being informed about those contests. So we leverage the in-app messaging to take them outside to follow and participate into social media campaigns that, well, boost the social media campaign and then brings more players back into the game. So it creates a rather beneficial acquisition strategy as well for us. The last thing that we've leveraged, I believe, was the remote configuration. We tested it back in 2016, if I'm correct, as part of a previous version, mobile version of Sandbox called Sandbox Evolution, where we were essentially changing the order of the display of certain campaign and certain prices for virtual items through a Leanplum configuration based on specific behaviors of the user. So defining if they were first-time purchaser or they never made a purchase until now, but they kept watching only video ads, we would trigger those different options and convert them. We did use the same practice with targeting user segments on Snoopy Towntail game as well. And there, what we found out is like there were a certain number of users who were participating event after event. So they were coming back each month to complete those events, but they never triggered an in-app purchase yet. So we felt like they are highly engaged, non-monetizers. And what could we do to create finally that trigger where we creating custom packages of offers, in-app purchase offer, really targeted at them, where only them receive them specifically with a special discount or an increased quantity of virtual currency or characters and content in the pack just for them, so that we broke that psychological barrier for maybe some friction to the first in-app purchase, and then, well, we had highly engaged retained users, paying users. and that was highly efficient.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Seb. And we're actually going to touch on this in the next slide here, which is specifically about a question that we set out to answer, given our large install base and the fact that we have access to all these, 1,800 campaigns we analyze over a period of time, about 670 million messages across in-app messaging, push, and email. And the question we asked was, what is this actual relationship between personalization and monetization? Because obviously personalizing the player journey, the free-to-play experience for the player is better, but does this actually lead to better monetization? And what we found in the process is that, yes, you can increase your revenue per message by personalizing your messaging, but there's actually 4 distinct layers about how you go about personalization. And the 4 that we found are kind of the baseline, starting with demographic segmentation. This is the well-known one where you upload a user attribute or list of attributes for the age, gender, country, LTV, you name it. And all those attributes, sometimes for some of our customers, there's hundreds, if not thousands of them, especially if they have more kind of mid-core game available with different upgrades and all these other characters and collectibles that you can have. You want to store all that information on the player profile and target based on that. This is a really good starting point. And we do support the ability to store up to 2,000 of those on the user profile. And believe us, we have customers who actually go that far. But what we found after is that when you apply behavioral segmentation, especially recency and frequency, with aggregations or without, this actually can double the amount of revenue per message that you get relative to demographic segmentation. And so really a kind of a good rule of thumb here is if you have a player lifetime value, LTV, instead of just looking at LTV, if you look at recent spend, this is actually a lot more impactful. And it does make sense intuitively. Maybe somebody has spent $1,000 in their lifetime, but they haven't spent anything in the last 3 months. So chances of them spending right at this moment is probably more predictable based on their recent behavior versus lifetime behavior. And specifically when it comes to recency and frequency, being able to look at total gameplay, the kinds of games they like, the kinds of characters they chase, aggregates such as sum totals for the spend or minimum or maximum, and so on and so forth. This is a really powerful tool. Again, we're still talking about segmentation at this point, but it actually does give you a boost up. And when we work with our gaming clients, we actually measure for every single one of the messages that goes out, how many of them, what percentage of your total messages are targeted based on behavioral segmentation, because we do see that boost in ROI and revenue per message. And then the next layer up comes the behavior trigger delivery. So obviously all of live ops, and as we mentioned, lifecycle marketing as well, being able to affect the player journey in the moment, in real time, as you're leveling up, level 20, as you're buying a specific bundle, being able to offer a follow-on bundle with a streak offer or something like that, being able to react in real time actually gives you an extra boost in revenue per message. Yes, so real time is the best predictor of behavior. So recent current session is better than the last 90 days worth of recent behavior, which is better than lifetime behavior. So the further you go into real time, the more relevant, more personalized, and more, I guess, opportunity for monetization you have. And then the last piece there is obviously the messaging content and personalization. So being able to personalize the actual message that goes out so it doesn't feel like it's the same message for everybody. Maybe you're referring to the player total number of coins or other things like that, maybe their name if you have it, or username. So being able to climb up this ladder of personalization we know is hard. Our job is to make it easier through focusing on ease of use and out-of-the-box tools, especially when it comes to developer effort. We know that a lot of these things, such as behavioral segmentation, advanced segmentation, requires SQL, even if you're using a third-party tool. And so we want to make that out of the box as much as possible, because we know this is a game of operational efficiency. So the more your teams, yourselves, can focus on being able to personalize the player journey without a significant amount of effort involved in, in getting developers to code things up for you, or other perhaps other blockers, being able to really focus on that enables you to actually achieve that ladder of personalization where every message that goes out feels personal and relevant for your players. And as we show here on the right, it also means more revenue per message. Seb, do you have anything to comment? I know you already mentioned behavioral segmentation is something that you guys found through your own testing actually works really well.
Yes, it worked well, and I was looking at some question as well in the Q&A and answering them, and it's true that like what has been really helpful is for us is like really to integrate into the company culture, and at least if not in the company culture, at least in the game design team culture, this life cycle marketing. The idea that we want to drive more engagement and more revenue from by the live ops and the update of the game rather than at the launch, and that is something that they need to integrate as part of each update. Like it's not an update is always features, but it's sometimes feature, it's mostly content, and it's often like marketing. So thinking like, how do you define like which offer, like which segment, why is it going to be fun? Why would someone would want to convert potentially? And if there is a monetization trigger behind. And so what do you design? And don't design 10,000 of things. Like our team scale doesn't allow that. So we tried to focus on just a few offers and make sure that those were visible enough and well targeted so that, well, that will trigger those conversions behind.
Great, thank you, Seb. And one question we often get is, what is the actual distribution of these campaigns? So how far do people usually go? And we recognize it's actually a long way for us to really get to that promised land of every message feeling very personalized and the player experience being, really the player journey being personalized. We saw that about less than 10% of people actually, or campaigns actually are real-time, are behavior triggered. So there's a long way for us to go. We recognize that, and we're constantly innovating on our front to be able to move people up this ladder and really study what really is the blocker for game developers to be able to get there. And another kind of slice of the data, if you again look at that ladder of personalization, the bottom layer is about being able to send scheduled communication through in-app messaging or push or other things like that. And what we found is that triggered communication, being able to trigger off of behavior, is performing better. In fact, for both push and email, we saw that revenue per message, which is the metric we measured using an attribution window of 24 hours, we see about 5x increase. One thing that would perhaps surprise you here is that email is actually our best performing channel, but it's also a little skewed because it's a lower volume channel, typically used for VIP players. So we do see correspondingly higher revenue per message as a result of that. However, both email and push about 5 times higher revenue per message when you trigger the message versus just sending it a scheduled message. So that was really insightful as well. And then last, before we close out, I know, Seb, we worked on a case study together. This is a different aspect of personalization where we actually take into account timing, but would you like to just mention just a quick result that we were able to study together on this?
Yes, indeed. Like we ran that case study back in the day on the first Sandbox game, and back then through the A/B testing of when was the best time to reach out to user through push notification, we were able, and also what kind of content, both on the title and the text description, we were able to increase the percentage of open rate and through the engagement in the app and monetization through the offers, because we always combine a special promo with push notification and in-app messaging to notify the user. Like it's not just one thing that works, it's always like the combination of all, so that it's a journey for a user inside the application. Once they get and they want to open, they go through the whole funnel behind. And it's been easy to set up with Leanplum that full customer journey so that we could, us as game designer, work, try it out ourselves and then launch it to the full audience or the segmented audience. Yeah, here you can see a 16% increase on the open rate and 17% increase on the revenue rate, which by Momchil, I think tells me it's a great metric, so we've been happy with.
Yes, definitely, Seb. And again, going full circle back, as I started with, we started as an A/B testing platform, so everything you do in Leanplum is based on that foundation of data and testing. And so we really pride ourselves in that. And we want to help teams be more data-driven, more test-driven as well. So we always encourage all of our game developers to A/B test everything in terms of algorithms, in terms of new strategies there as well. So I think that's all from us. So Seb and I are ready for some Q&A. So I'm just going to stop sharing here so we can take a look.
Hello. That was very good. That was really good. Thank you for both for being along and sharing that. I'm going to pick up a couple of questions from the audience. I'm trying to profile these. Okay, there was a kind of conversation early in the previous panel about the kind of friction between kind of creativity and I guess but business, right? Or you know, processes more than business. So the question here is, how can developers avoid being too money thirsty and create a balance between, you know, I guess what the audience wants in terms of fun and what the company needs in terms of money? Is that obviously everyone wants more money, right? That's the thing. But is there a tension there? I mean, Sebastien, you kind of created a lot of different sort of games and worlds. Do you know what is it drives you? Is it a mixture between the kind of creative idea and the kind of business, or do you kind of come up with the ideas first and then apply, you know, structure around
it? All right. I'll try to keep the answer rather short, and I don't want to derive too much into the other worlds and metaverses. But the idea is, I think the right approach is to always think like user first and community driven. So what's in for my user in this update before even I think to take their money for monetization purpose? Like, why would those users spend time in my app, my game, rather than into another one? Do I give them enough fun, enough value for their time? That is like they're going to engage into a gameplay that's rightly balanced, etc. And if I create a monetization offer, like again, is it what I'm selling to them of any value? In a sense, like you could sell, for example, a wearable, but a wearable is just an aesthetic. Does it give extra capacity to your character, extra skill? Does it help them to increase maybe their progression speed, etc.? Or you can sell a character into our city builder, like this character, it needs to come with more animation, more stories, more gameplay time behind, something again that you feel like there's a return of value for the users. That's been our approach, and one of the main reasons that our games are able to monetize 5-6 years after they launch is because we don't try to monetize at every single event. Absolutely, we just try to keep people engaged over a long time, and at some point, you know, we'll get it right. We'll get the right offer for them, and they will convert into a paying user while they are engaged again. That's the most important, specifically in such a competitive market as mobile gaming, with new titles coming all along and the attention span getting shorter and shorter from users.
Yeah, definitely. I won't take you down the old metaverse sandbox. It's a whole different world, different conversation. Maybe later in the week. I guess for both of you, I'm going to try and get through 2 more questions, then we'll probably wrap because it's been a long old morning, but it's been very insightful one. What would your advice be for developers that have limited resources for marketing live ops? I mean, in terms of is there like a balance of how much effort you should put in or how much budget you should put into the live ops versus the kind of initial build and the various other projects that you need running? I mean, the live ops is the game to a degree as you go forward, but yeah.
Yeah, I would say with live ops specifically, you tend to see probably higher impact, more immediate impact in being able to monetize as well as impact the gameplay. So I would definitely double down there. One approach that we've taken is this notion of prototyping. So being able to really create entire events and experiences with only interconnected in-app messages that are super lightweight, maybe just testing an idea or testing an experience. You don't want to invest too much in building an entire built-in tournament experience or things like that. You just want to maybe shape a few different connected messages together. This is something that we've seen work really well. So being able to get off the ground quickly, that's a really important aspect, especially now with iOS 14.5. I think we're starting to see probably more and more people turning to live ops in the process as well. So I do think that more people will be experimenting with running more sales, more events. So that's something that I think will be my advice.
Cool. Another question is, would you say that the distribution between marketing and live ops side and the remote configuration is equally shared, or is one way more important than the other? I mean, to me, it feels all a bit connected, but because you sort of separated them out in your structure before, is remote?
I would say it is connected, because that's what we see our customers really seek out. You can't really just be sending CRM messages and they're completely disconnected from your monetization strategy with the events and sales you're running, or from the gameplay itself. You can't really provide that and player experience that's the fully personalized experience. And so we maybe have the selection bias that we search and seek for those developer studios that are actually interested in personalizing the full player journey. So most of our customers tend to use us for all three of them. They don't always start with all three of them, but they end up somewhere there.
Fair enough. And finally, for me, why Leanplum? I like it. It's a distinctive name, but what's the thinking?
Yeah, so Lean came from the Lean Startup. At the time, it was a really hot book that it came out, and we wanted to really have instill this notion of the Lean methodology of testing everything, being data driven. Plum, I often, when I'm on a panel, I joke that we started in Silicon Valley, so in Silicon Valley used to be an orchard, so there was a lot of fruit companies that came out, like Apple, and maybe Plum. Leanplum one day is going to be a big company, but may or may not have to do with the domain name available, but I'm not going to say that.
Well, maybe if you look at back in the days, remember, the App Store used to take a long time to validate your apps before they could go live and read it. It could be 1 week, 2 weeks. Now it's very short. So back then it was even more important to have that capacity to test rather rapidly, deploy new configuration, A/B test without submitting a new app each time. And that was a pain point, if I remember correctly, that Leanplum was solving for us and their clients.
Fair enough. No, it's a good thumbs up there from you. Can't beat a bit of client thumbs up. I'm gonna have to end it there, guys. Thank you so much for your time this morning. We're gonna bring our track to an end, but have a lovely day wherever you are in the world. I didn't even ask you, where are you guys? Where are you both? Sebastien, are you in France?
Paris?
Yeah, I'm visiting in Bulgaria, but I'm usually in San Francisco.
Are you in San Francisco?
I am usually there, but I'm in Bulgaria right now, just visiting.
Okay, that's good. I think I'm getting you up early. I'm sorry about that. Okay, guys. Well, enjoy Bulgaria, enjoy Paris, and we will see you all again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. What a fantastic.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Sebastien.